You just press play on the Last Breath Huntcast, home of the Huntroversy. We're here to entertain, educate, and engage. And in case you didn't know, you only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough. Don't waste it. Welcome to episode number 145 of the Last Breath Huntcast, proudly presented by Badlands Gear. Using the code LASTBREATH22BL30, again, LASTBREATH22BL30, all those characters are uppercase and there are no spaces there. You can get yourself 30% off of anything to your heart's desire on badlandsgear.com. You should go check those guys out right now, especially if you're a turkey hunter with a late season, because they have a very badass turkey vest on their site right now, which they dropped last spring. Cody and Ryan actually spent all spring last year hunting in that, so if you want any good feedback on that product, then feel free to reach out to either one of them. Another partner of our podcast is Underwarmer. Using the code LASTBREATH with a space in between those words, a capital L and a capital B, you can get yourself $10 off a $12 product, shipped straight to your door. It's, again, that's Underwarmer. You can find them at underwarmer.com. That is a heated next-to-skin base layer system that is a one to multi-time use that will provide your core up to 12 hours of heat. Finally, Outdoor Edge, using the code LBTV25, all caps, no spaces. You can get yourself 25% off anything site-wide at OutdoorEdge.com. Our topic for today is that Matty Ice does it again. That's right, Matt killed his, I would venture to say, his somewhere in the 50s number of turkeys that he's killed over his lifetime, and he just killed it yesterday morning. So we are going to go ahead and give him a call, pick his brain on what the heck happened, any strategies, any takeaways, any thoughts from the turkey master himself, and we're going to go ahead give Matt a buzz right now. Well, we'll hike it back down. Either way, it's a buttload of turkeys for somebody of the age of 30 years old. So we're going to go ahead and get into the story about what happened the other day. But before that, what tags do you have this spring? You obviously have a second season tag, and then what else?
I had 3, 4, 5.
Duh, that's right. My bad. 3, 4, 5. So you have filled your third season tag yesterday morning, right?
I did it this morning.
Was it this morning?
Yep, it was this morning.
Holy crap, my days are blurring together. So you filled your third season tag.
You're way out of here. You're way out in the weeds.
I know. My brain is just like flighty right now. I can't think. In terms of the rest of the way of your season, in this particular case, this bird that you whacked this morning, do you feel pretty good about going and being able to kill a turkey at that spot again, or is that kind of like a one and done spot for you?
That's going to be a one and done spot for me. I know of a couple other, two for sure, other turkeys that have been killed in that region, and they're, I mean, you hear it everywhere. The numbers are down, which they are. So it's one of the things where, going into the day, I really didn't have high hopes of even seeing a turkey. It was more one of them things just to go and get out kind of deal, and just see how many are gobbling, see how many are actually there, hear the population a little bit. And, much to my surprise, it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't great. I mean, I'd say there's probably 3 or 4 toms left and a couple jakes, now 3 toms for sure left after I shot one today. But
okay,
just good to know that there are a few areas where they're starting to recover very, very slimly. I mean, I would say it's an outlier where I was at today, that there was actually that many turkeys.
Gotcha. So you have filled your third season tag. You have a 4 and a 5th left.
Yep.
Did you roost this bird that you killed this morning, yesterday evening or Friday evening, or any nights,
Nope.
When you've been driving around, or is this just kind of a spur of the moment kind of thing?
It was literally one of them things where the weather looked not so forgiving this morning. We had thunderstorms early in the morning, and I just didn't really feel like driving 30 to 35 minutes to our furthest farms just to go get washed out. So I tried to stay close to home this morning and just go, literally just to go out and enjoy the woods. I mean, that literally was all there was to it. There was no scouting, no roosting, no nothing. I literally just went out, packed the freaking blind about 900 yards, packed my gun, packed 2 decoys, and what gear I could carry. I didn't even take a chair. So I literally just went back there preparing to get soaked. Like, I left the camera in the truck because I'm like, I'm not packing all this crap that far and then turn around and have to add a 20-pound turkey on top of it back. I literally just went out old school style just to go out and turkey hunt.
Mm-hmm. And so this bird, getting into the story a little bit here, you didn't roost it the night before, but how far would you say you were away from the turkey on the limb as it was gobbling this morning? Or was this turkey not even really in the ball game?
I was as far west as I could get. I mean, as far as I could humanly get. And I would say the turkey was probably 350. Most of the turkeys were between that 250 and 350 range. The hens were around that 250 range. He was clear on the opposite side of them from me. So, I mean, even though I was calling a little bit, which we'll get into that, I'm sure, but I called a lot more than what I normally would today, just because I was trying to agitate the hens enough to come check it out. And because I knew he was so far away, it was a long shot to begin with.
Yep.
So I literally didn't have anything to lose. You know, I was literally a 90% fail rate on the hunt that I had this morning.
Well, it worked out well. So when you set up in there, you got all your decoys, your spread laid out, and the turkey started to gobble. Were you surprised that the turkeys were so far away, or did you think, all right, this is better than I thought? I know I'm in the game at least at this point.
Well, in years past, and it's a farm I used to hunt growing up, so I kind of had an idea, you know, where, if there are turkeys on it, where they typically roosted. So I pretty much knew where they were going to be. It was just whether or not there was a tom in the group.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a pleasant surprise, to say the least. So, I got all the way back there. I was in there, 50 minutes before legal shooting light, which is 5:45-ish right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in there right around 5 and, like, where I wanted to be. So I got all situated. I didn't even pop the blind up until after legal shooting light because it hadn't rained yet, and I just didn't want to handicap myself in case I needed to make an adjustment.
Yep.
And so I just was literally standing there, had the gun leaned up against the tree, just hanging out, waiting for him to gobble. And the hens started waking up about 15 minutes after the toms were starting to rip. And there were several that were probably close to that 1,000-yard threshold away, which obviously I wasn't even thinking about those. Mm-hmm. And then this one lit off, and then a couple Jakes lit off about that 350 range. I'm like, all right, let's see what's going on. So then the hens started cutting and carrying on in the tree and just raising hell. So what I thought would be a good idea this morning, which is not typically, it's definitely in my call arsenal, but that early in the morning, it's not typically something I would do. But I started lost calling. I started keying. I started just ripping those cuts and yelps and keys, and the hens started working it right back. I wanted to make them feel like there's a hen out here lost in the weeds somewhere, from the rest of the flock. And I did that for a good solid, every 3-4 minutes while they were in the tree for probably 15-20 minutes. And I was cutting it loose. I was kind of loud with my calls. And then when I knew it was getting close to that fly down time or shortly after, I just shut up.
Okay.
I put my call down. I laid down on the floor, or not the floor, but I just laid down on the ground inside the blind. Just hung out for a little while. I was messing around with my phone, just kind of every 5 minutes or so, I'd sit up and kind of look around, listen for a minute, and kind of glass the field. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Then, 20, 30 minutes rolls by where I'm on this quiet spree, and then a hen starts cutting off about that 200 yard range, and then a tom gobbles, and then the Jake shot gobbles shortly after that. I said, all right, they're a little bit closer. Wasn't anything to get excited about by any means. At least I knew where they were at,
Yep.
But I just kept sitting there for another 15, 20 minutes. And then that hen was a little bit closer, and the tom was a little bit closer, probably about that 125 range. And I haven't called in 30, 40 minutes at this point. I haven't made a sound. So I'm like, okay, I can maybe start ripping back a little bit. And get her attention, get his attention. So I immediately started just cutting really hard on my mouth call.
Okay.
Just cutting and cutting and cutting. A few yelps here and there, cutting and cutting, and then she started answering me. And then she shut up, and so I shut up. And the old school guys would tell me, like something my dad told me, if a turkey's not talking, they're moving.
Yeah.
So I just shut up. And I just sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there, and I laid back down for about another 10 or 15 minutes.
Hey, let me pump the brakes on you. I got to know a critical piece to the puzzle here in the mind of the master. What would your decoy setup look like this morning? Was it a lone strutter and a hen, or was it a Jake and a hen, or double hen, or?
It was a lay down hen and another hen. Just a pair of hens.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry. Keep going. That was just something I thought of, and in the spur of the moment, I thought of that'd be pretty interesting.
I just didn't feel the need to try to get, throw that Jake in the mix and risk, bumping a Tom off if he's submissive, or making him feel leery to come in. So I wanted to create the illusion that there was a couple hens over there just lost from the flock. So that's what I brought with me, and it, I wouldn't say it even worked. I mean, they could see the decoys, but they were just kind of slowly, when we get, close to that time of the shot, they just kind of saw the decoys and just kind of veered through the timber, on that 40-yard mark. But so I was sitting there, right, and things starting to heat up a little bit, and I, sat there for that 10 or 15 minute span, and then I heard him. I heard that spit and drum, and I'm like, okay, all right, where the hell are you at? So I sat back up, and mind you, I was laying around, messing on TikTok and stuff, just chilling. And I heard that, and I'm like, there's no way I just heard that. I've heard a turkey do that thousands of times. I'm like, okay, if he's close enough to do that, this thing's within 75, 80 yards of him. So I sat up, and I looked out in the field, and there was 3 Jakes walking around out there. And I was like, okay, they're not strutting, so it wasn't them. And then I looked to my left about 75 yards away, and I see some more turkeys kind of milling around, kind of climbing up on deadfalls and just picking their way through the grass in this little strip of trees. And then I hear it again. I'm like, okay, I don't see anything strutting over there. I don't know where in the hell he's at, but he's here somewhere. So I threw my binoculars up and just started glassing. 1 hen, 2 hens, 3 hens, 4 hens, 5 hens. I think there were 7 hens. The Jakes had already moved off and were kind of 150, 200 yards away out in the wide open from me. And the hens are between that 75 to 50 range, just kind of starting to follow the Jakes. And then I catch the tip of that tail fan behind a tree turn. I'm like, oh, now I see where you're at. And he was behind like a group of 3 trees.
So how far was he at that point when you first had seen him?
Like 55, 60 yards.
Oh, so pushing shot distance here. We're on the edge of a prayer for sure.
He was pretty close to gun range. Pretty close to gun range for sure. And I'm like, and then I'm sitting there wondering, how in the hell all these turkeys were to the west of me? I'm facing directly south. All these turkeys were to the west of me, and they must have went and created a giant freaking loop clear around and were coming back from the east side of me. So they had to have worked out across the wide open field over the rise where I couldn't see them, came down this waterway, and then we're starting to work back west. I'm like, I wasn't laying down for any long extended period of time. So, I would have thought I'd at least caught a glimpse of them if they would have circled clear around me and then they were heading back towards the direction where they were roosted. So I'm like,
right. Yeah.
So the hens are kind of starting to work through, and they're staying at like that 45-yard line. Like that's right where they're at. They're on a deer trail going through the timber. I'm like, okay, if he comes through there, he's in big freaking trouble. Because I'm hunting with a boat anchor of a shotgun, that Browning BPS 10 gauge, and I'm like, 45 yards, his ass is mine. And so he's starting to head that way, and he's taking his sweet freaking time. Like he's maybe making 6 inches every 30, 40 seconds. He is not moving. I'm like, oh my God, seriously? I'm even like trying to talk myself out of shooting because I literally had like a 3-foot wide gap in the trees that was like 3 by 3, 3 wide, 3 tall, where like the hens had already went through there. So I knew if he was going to get to that point, I could smoke his freaking brains out. And then he just taking his sweet time, and I could have swore it was like at least 10 minutes before I started to just start to catch his breast feathers coming through that gap. And I'm like, okay, I might as well pick my gun up now, because I haven't even put my gun up yet. And I'm like, okay, I'll pick it up now and start thinking about it. And then he takes another step, and he just stands there, strutting the whole time, stands there and stands there and stands there and stands there. I'm like, God damn it. Take like 2 more steps, please. And then I flick the safety off and start bearing down my gun. And then he takes those 2 steps, and I took about 3 seconds, made sure I was on him good, and flipped him over backwards.
So shot distance about mid 40s then? Yeah.
Yeah, 45 would be right about where he's at, and I flipped him over backwards.
That's awesome. So, wow. Okay, lots of questions here. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
The hillbilly moment in me came out. No, I hadn't staked this blind down or nothing, so I just dropped the freaking gun. I flipped the blind over backwards off of me and take off running. I'm like, I got to go get him just in case. You know that 50-yard, sprint to get to your turkey. He's flopping around out there, doing what they do. And I go and finally grab him up, and I realize, in the midst of the shot, he freaking flipping over backwards. He broke 4 of his damn tail fan feathers out. And I look back, and I'm like, the blind's freaking flipped over upside down. I'm like, God, I really wish somebody was here today, because this would have been quite the deal to film this. And this turkey was flipping over backwards and doing all kinds of shit when I got up to him. So it was pretty chaotic there for a minute.
So your turkey stats, as I like to call them, everybody when they post on social media when they've killed a turkey, they rattle off the beard and the spurs and everything. So in terms of the beard and the spurs, were they a pretty solid pair, or what do you think about that?
He was a good 2-year-old bird. I mean, he had 3/4-inch spurs, just maybe a shade over 3/4-inch spurs, and then he had 9.5-inch beard. So just a good average turkey. Nothing crazy. Probably 23 pounds. He wasn't a giant by any means, but just a good 2-year-old Tom.
Perfect. Do you think there was anything that you learned, I guess, from the hunt this morning that you'd like to share with people that you felt like really, really stood out? Any lessons learned?
I shouldn't lay down so much. I was literally bored as hell. They weren't talking. They weren't doing nothing. So I was just like, I didn't have a chair, so I wasn't going to sit on my knees the whole time. So I shouldn't have laid down, and maybe I could have caught them working across the field and would have been surprised as much as I was to notice that they were coming from the exact opposite direction that they were roosted.
Fair enough. What was the time duration there for the period between fly down and when you actually shot this Tom? When did you officially pull the trigger on him?
It was like 7:20. Those, they flew down between, right around that 6 o'clock time frame. They flew down about 6, or maybe just a shade 4. I mean, they were so far away I couldn't hear them fly down, but I'd say they flew down about 6, and I just sat there, for at least 30 minutes where I didn't make a sound. From 6 to 6:30, I didn't call at all. Then they started carrying on, and then, between that 6:30 to 7, I had called 7 or 8 times back and forth between the hens and just letting them know where I was at. And then once I saw him to the point where I shot him, I didn't make another sound, because obviously he was doing his own thing. They were working through on their own. I didn't even have to call to him. He was literally just following the flock.
Gotcha. So more or less you were cutting them off.
Yeah, more or less. I was just kind of just off to the side of where they naturally wanted to be to begin with. And I wouldn't say I deer hunted them, but, all but deer hunted them. Because, I really don't think at any given moment, besides a couple, the hens were actually answering me. I think they were just doing their own thing.
Gotcha. So do you feel like the calling that you did do, that really aggressive calling on the limb, your key stuff like that, do you feel like that's actually what brought the group to you? Or what's your take on that?
I don't think it hurt. I typically try not to do that. But what you would call that boss hen, she was raising hell up in the tree on the limb. I mean, she was cutting like a cadence of like 12 to 15 cuts. You know, she was just carrying on, letting everybody know that it was her show. And, you know, for them to loop all the way around to me and then come back through, I think, you know, she was definitely leading the pack on that, looking for me, looking for who the hell was raising all that kind of noise. And I think it helped to a certain degree. You know, I haven't been out enough to scout and do anything like that. I've been kind of tied up doing other things, but I think it definitely helped, and it didn't hurt. I mean, I wouldn't advise people to just raise all kinds of hell, but if the tom's on the other side of you, of the hens, like it was this morning, I mean, your best bet's to make the hens want to come to you if you can. I mean, they're kind of knot-headed too at some point in time, so that's what I did. I didn't even really try to call to him. I was trying to call to them so they could just bring the whole show to me, and I think that's what ultimately happened.
So what kind of calls were you using? You said a little earlier that you were keying, you were cutting, but in terms of when that lead hen was cutting her butt off in the tree, what were you doing back in unison as she was hooping and hollering?
I was just mocking her.
So were you were mimicking everything. Gotcha.
You know, I just try to repeat whatever she's doing to the best of my abilities.
Okay.
I mean, she weren't doing any keying, but I was, because I just wanted them to feel like I was excited, lost, just distraught, not knowing where to go, how to get to them. That's kind of the illusion that I was going for. Whether, you know, in the language of the wild turkey, whether she believed what I was trying to do, you know, that's you know, we'll never know.
Gotcha. But either way, you had a good hunt. I mean, over within about an hour and a half, that's a pretty ideal turkey hunt. It's not like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, right off the roost, but it's in the chronological.
Anytime you can kill a turkey, it's good.
Yeah, no kidding. So got some would you rathers here for you.
Oh, yeah.
Number 1, would you rather eat Taco Bell or McDonald's after a successful turkey hunt?
McDonald's.
Oh, dude. One of these days, you guys are going to be on my side on this one. Okay, next one.
Nope.
Would you rather shoot a 2-inch spurred turkey or a triple beard with no hooks?
I'll take the 2-inch hooks.
Okay. Would you rather shoot a turkey literally first thing off the roost as their feet hit the ground, or at 12:55 after you've got your butt kicked pretty much all morning?
I've done both.
I know. That's why I asked you.
I'd rather get it over with.
Okay. What is your favorite turkey hunting breakfast food of all time?
Hardee's.
Hardee's? Is there a Hardee's in Macomb, or is that?
There's one in Bushnell. Go get Hardee's mid-move or right after you're done hunting. If you can get there before 10 o'clock, that double-loaded omelet biscuit really hits the spot.
I always forget there's a Hardee's in Bushnell. So how about this one? This is an interesting answer, I know, for you. Your biggest turkey kill of all time.
Oh man! As far as what? As far as what parameters are we going for? Weight, or as far as?
I think it's going to be like all of the above, and I think your triple beard that you got mounted.
Yeah, I think he's, because I mean I killed that one double beard that had like almost 18.5 inches of beard, and then the triple beard was right around that 19.5 to 20 inch mark on the triple beard. So those two are, as far as like beard, overall beard length and spurs, those were both like around that 1.5 inch spur kind of range, and then 18 to 20 inches beard. But I mean, years ago I killed a 29 pounds, 4 ounce turkey, and he was a swab too. He was on that 1.5 inch spur and 11 inch beard mark.
I'm surprised that turkey didn't have multiple beards, as big as he was.
Oh man, he was freaking humongous.
How about your favorite turkey call? Your number one favorite turkey call or vocalization to use with a turkey or against a turkey?
Oh, I just do whatever I can muster up with my mouth calls. if you were to go back to the old school days, like before we started using, HS strut calls, like my number one go-to growing up was the Super Illuminator by Mad Calls. Like that was the call that was the top of the line call back when I grew up turkey hunting. And that's what I grew up using, that slate call. And then I grew up and started using diaphragms. And I mean, I've used tons and tons of different diaphragms. And the one this morning I was actually using was a guy off of TikTok that I've been watching a lot lately. And I bought one of his signature series calls. Bo Brooks is his name. He's from out west. And I seem to really like that call a lot.
Okay.
That I used this morning.
This is a tricky one for you. Would you rather kill a smoke-phased turkey with a triple beard and 2-inch hooks? The turkey's weight is 30 pounds. Or a mid-150s this coming whitetail season with a drop tine?
Ooh, smoke-faced turkey.
Yeah, that turkey would have a lot going for it between the 2-inch hooks, the triple beard.
No, smoke-faced turkey all day long.
Yeah. So you would have to full body mount that turkey, right?
I said I'd never mount a turkey ever again, but I would if I did that. Yeah.
Okay. Anything that you would like to add in terms of any kind of advice you could give a turkey hunter listening to this at the moment right now that's mid-turkey season?
Mid-turkey season, just be patient right now. They're stubborn. This weather's just been so up and down right now. I don't think just as well as us as humans, turkeys know which way to turn. It's beautiful yesterday, beautiful today, and then it's going to get ready to drop down back into the low 50s and 30s the next 2 days. So these turkeys are really temperamental right now, and my best bet is just to be patient and stick it out as long as you can, and just stay at them. Don't overcall if you can get away with it, but just ride it out till 1 o'clock. At least if you're in Illinois, ride it out if you're not having any luck.
Sure. That's well said advice. So I will let you go. Get on with the rest of your evening. Tell Maverick I said hi, and I will talk to you really quick here.
All right, buddy. See ya.
All right, bye. There we have it, Matt's turkey recap from this morning. Garrett, Jesse, Logan, I believe, all were hunting this morning as well, so I'll have the story on that here pretty shortly too. Episodes coming up. Corey Jacobson, been playing phone tag and communicating back and forth with him. He's coming up shortly here, as well as the Coppers Creek Bow Hunters. They had a podcast last year. That's Andrew Jordan, Cody Smith, Brett Perryman, Miles Harkless, all those guys, and kind of recap their archery season. Until then, we will see you guys next time. Last announcement, the launch party is booked for the Adler Theater for Friday, August 5th, so make sure that you guys stay in tune with what we're doing over here, so that way you can get all the launch party updates. So make sure you keep listening every Monday, and we will see you next time. Good luck turkey hunting out there, and don't waste it.